Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, so today we need to take a look at some new cards from Raging Surf. And we've got a new kind of tool card that we've kind of seen before, but we haven't seen for a while, and this is extremely interesting. And we've got a new Absol, which I am absolutely in love with. So let's start there. Now, I want to point out here the Shinji Kanda artwork. I've been kind of on the fence about Shinji Kanda's art. Now, I know a lot of people love it. I can appreciate why it's so good. But it's never been my favourite, personally. And that's okay, we all have different opinions on art. Sometimes I say I like a particular artwork and people are like, that art's terrible. And I'm like, no, mate. Art is subjective, that's kind of the point. However, here, I just really like this. I think this is a wonderful piece of art. I'm a big fan. But I really, really like the card. Again, translations myself, but I've checked with a lovely Antoine Boulet. Now, in terms of the Absol, we've got single colourless energy. You may discard any number of cards from your hand and then draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. So you're going to end the turn with 5 cards in hand, but you can discard as many cards as you like beforehand. That's actually really nice for a couple of reasons. Firstly, you have a bunch of extra cards, yay. And secondly, you get to make sure that discarding cards which you might need, a bunch of decks play from the discard pile, attach energy and all sorts. So, yeah, it's kind of useful. You can imagine there are going to be a bunch of games you're going to use this. And there might be some decks that specifically want this. It's a basic Pokemon single colorless energy, so it's absolutely worth teching into decks. This is not why I'm a fan of this card. I am a fan of this card for the second attack, which I consider to be awesome. 2 colourless energy and you do 20 damage, but if you've got a tool attached, it does 60 more. Now, the reason I like this is turn 1 going second, I want cheeky KOs. Now, generally speaking, we're looking for 60 or 70 damage here. That's the key number, because the vast majority of evolving Pokemon and support Pokemon have 60 or 70 HP. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it generally tends to work. So we see that Gardevoir is a very popular deck right now, and the routes that everybody playing has 70 HP. 70 is the more important number, I'll be honest with you. Manaphy sees a huge amount of play. People often end up starting with that annoyingly, and that's got 70 HP. Comfey and Lost Zone decks, absolutely crucial, 70 HP. So I want a basic Pokemon that for a single energy can hit 60 or 70 damage, preferably 70. Turn 1 going second, so I can get a bunch of cheeky KOs. Now, in theory, this hits 80, but it doesn't really hit 80, it hits 60. Because realistically speaking, you're going to need to use a double turbo energy. And if you use double turbo energy, it's going to reduce the amount of damage you're doing by 20, so that 80 you were hitting a minute ago is actually 60. Let's not pretend it's 80, you're only really getting this rolling with double turbo energy, therefore it's 60. However, it's only 60 if you've got a tool. Might I remind you that Vitality Band came back recently? And Vitality Band is a simple, straightforward, extra 10 damage. Oh look, we're up to 70. It's perfect. Now, I suppose I should mention at this stage that yes, Dark Patch is in the format, so you could absolutely Dark Patch and attach for turn, and then you are hitting 90 with a Vitality Band. Yes, that is, of course, absolutely possible, but I don't really think that's the way I want to use Absol. Now, don't get me wrong. If I'm playing a Darkness deck, I'm going to be playing 4 Dark Patch. I don't know why you would not do that. That would be weird. And if I'm playing 4 Dark Patch and I've got room for stuff like Vitality Band, then obviously I'm going to play it. Although the room is a big deal, you will not always have room to play this. But my point is, I really like this as a tech in basically any deck. Any deck whatsoever, well, any deck is playing double turbo energy, and there are a lot out there that are or can, and now all of a sudden I'm loving it. And to be fair, you can use this in a bunch of other decks. Use it in a water deck with Baxcalibur as a basic Pokemon that can hit a fairly easy 80 damage. Because here you'll be accelerating water energy with Baxcalibur, and you will actually be hitting 80. that could work. Like, it can work with a bunch of stuff. My point is, it is a basic Pokemon that uses colorless energy that can hit key numbers for evolving and support Pokemon. That is why I'm such a big fan of this card. For me personally, I'm thinking of all the dumb counter decks I tend to play and tend to build, and the idea of a Pokemon that's a basic Pokemon that for a double Turbo Energy Vitality band is going to be KOing pretty much all evolving and support Pokemon. Yeah, I'm giving this 4 Wassies, and honestly, for me personally, it would be higher. But I'm trying to be slightly impartial. I'm trying to be a little bit objective here. I am a big fan of this card. I think it's great. But we've also got the return of TMs, and we've had TMs before. Let's be clear. This is not the first time we've seen TMs, but it is the first time we've seen TMs in a while. In quite a while, honestly. Now, we've had a bunch of cards that give you extra attacks that aren't actually called them, but we had, way back in the Gen 4 era, finishing in Rising Rivals, we had technical machines, like Damage Porter. Choose one of your opponent's Pokemon. This attack does 10 damage times the amount of damage counters on the Pokemon this card is attached to that Pokemon. Slightly wordy and awkward, but did actually see a little bit of play. I saw Damage Porter be played in some decks. It is nice having these options for, putting extra attacks on. And of course, one of the cool things about Damage Porter was that we were talking about a colorless attack. And of course, as soon as it's a colorless attack, it means it can basically be used in any deck, and that's a good thing. So what do we have here? Well, we've got a couple of them. I think the best one of them is Blindside. Now, the way they work is they can be attached to any Pokemon, and you need the correct energy, and it is discarded at the end of your turn. That is very, very important. Now, the technical machine, like Team Galactic Invention, technical machine, Damage Porter, that could only be attached to Pokemon SP. This can be attached to absolutely anything. And some of the other technical machines we had at the time were on anything as well. So you attach it to any Pokemon, it gives you a new attack, but it only lasts for one turn, which is actually awkward because it means you have to attach it a turn you want to use it, or you might end up in trouble. But what this does is 100 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. Doesn't have to be active, can hit the bench. It's free colorless energy for 100 damage anywhere where there's already damage counters. Now, if you really wanted to focus on this massively, and I don't think you need to, but if you were desperate to specifically focus on this, you could always use something like Hawlucha, and then that would drop a couple of damage counters, and then from there, you just rolling. That would work. But I personally think this is more of a, you've hit something, it's gone to the bench, don't bother gusting or anything silly like that. Just use this attack to go and hit them for 100 on the bench and get the KO. Are people going to be playing this as a free energy attack in a lot of their decks? I rather suspect the answer might be no, but I still think this is a very good card with a lot of potential. The other one we've got here is Turbo Energize. For a single colorless energy, search your deck for up to 2 basic energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. And this one I actually do like quite a lot. I actually do like this one a bit. Now, firstly, it's for a single energy, which is really good. But also, it's any basic energy, and it uses colorless, which is good. And also, you search the deck. And searching the deck is huge. This actually reminds me of Geomancy Xerneas, which I want to remind you did actually see a whole bunch of play back in the day. Now, Xerneas for a single fairy energy, let you get 1 fairy energy to each of 2 bench Pokemon. This is better. This is any 2 basic energy to any of your Pokemon, so it could be 2 to the same, it could be 1 to each of 2, could be to the active, could be to the bench, could be any kind of basic energy. I think this one stands a much better chance of actually seeing play. I'm not here claiming this is some kind of like redonkulous game-breaking card or anything silly like that, but I absolutely am saying that having this tool, which can just get you rolling, is kind of amazing. So yeah, I really like the idea that this can just give any deck a nice early boost. So go team. I'm giving both of these between 3 and 4 Wassies. I think they have potential, but I think the damaging one is just a little too awkward, and I think the energy accelerating one, honestly, one of my biggest issues with it might well be the fact that you've got to actually draw it. Like, it's a tool. So you go and get it kind of, if you don't go and get it turn 1 nice and early, it might well be awkward to go and get it later. I'm sorry. Right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you need to know. Those are the new cards, and now it's over to you guys. I am personally over the top excited about Absol. That is a kind of dumb thing I can use in my dumb counter decks, but I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing is always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.